women are superior to men. Women are better than men. They always have been and they always will be. I read Emily Ratajkowski. Is that how you say it? Okay, I looked it up. I was right. Emily Ratajkowski. So I read her book. I read this a while ago and I just haven't gotten around to filming my opinionated video. Right off the bat, I will say I rated it 4 stars. It was a good book. I did enjoy it actually, like a lot, but there were some things where it was like, Overall, great book. I do recommend reading this. I think it's a great depiction of how women are seen not only in media, but also like in real life. And even as someone as mundane as me, I relate a lot to what she says in this book. I don't know, it's a great book. I really do recommend reading it. This book deserves a trigger warning for those who are sensitive about weight or eating disorder, because I think her talking about how her figure contributed to how famous she was, I think maybe people who are really sensitive to those things could probably take it the wrong way. And so I just think it deserves a trigger warning for that. I did write down and highlight notes about how I feel about this book. So I'll break it down into my color-coded sections. First is just like the overall topics of this book. If you are not a feminist, you will hate this book. I think that's why I was gravitated towards this book, even myself, because I am a raging feminist. So this story is about a cis heterosexual woman really just talking about her experiences, you know, being in the public eye and being the main focus of men because of her traditional beauty. Also, if you were looking for something about queer theory or something that involved women of color, this is probably not the book for you, because she is a cis-het white woman. Also, a big topic that I really think she did a good job of bringing up is the idea of empowerment versus objectification. And this I got from an article that I read. I'll put the article in the description if you want to read it. I think she does a really good job of bringing that up, because oftentimes you feel like, well, I have thought this before, like the whole movement of like women showing more skin, like, is that empowering, or is that just feeding into the male gaze? Are you objectifying yourself because you think it's empowerment, because you think, oh, well, I'm gonna do this for me, but really it's still satisfying men in some sense, if that makes sense. I don't know. This book, as I had mentioned, like a traditionally beautiful woman, no doubt about that, like no one can take that from her. She is a beautiful, smart, skinny woman, and I feel like oftentimes you do hear those sides of the story more often than women who probably aren't seen as traditionally beautiful. You hear more from women who fit the beauty standard. There's nothing bad about that at all. However, we often don't hear from the women on the other side of the spectrum, which I would like to see more of, because I think it would paint a better picture. And you know what, maybe I'm not looking in the right places for these things, but I think that says a lot because it's not pushed as much as this narrative. My opinions about this book, I have a few. I don't feel like this is something new, something revolutionary in the topic of feminism. Do I think it's important to hear about every woman's story? Absolutely. So that's the reason why I picked it up. But it's nothing new. She talks about how women are often seen from a superficial point of view. And when she said that, in the book, I really thought about it, and she's right, because how I discovered Emily Ratajkowski was through the Met Gala. I think it was 2019. It was the year of camp, I know that for sure. And that's how I discovered her, because I was watching the Met Gala. I thought she was so beautiful. So I looked her up on Instagram, and that's when I started following her, and I think she really did make a point. I don't know, I think I had just fit into the narrative that she described in this book of women being seen superficially, like for their beauty, you know? Like, I didn't discover her because of her intelligence. I didn't discover her because of her beliefs or anything like that. I discovered her because I thought she was a beautiful woman, and so I started following her. And, you know, here I am today reading her book, but it all stemmed because I saw her on TV, you know? Another thing, I really thought when I picked up this book, I thought it was going to be like an overall view of feminism. But really, it was just her story. And though her story does play into the idea of feminism, I thought it was, I don't know, I didn't think it was going to be such like a autobiography. I thought it would be more generalized and not just focused on her, which I didn't mind at the end. I really liked hearing her story. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but that's just not what I had imagined going into it. Some things that I really did like about this book, she does a good job of portraying how self-aware she is of both the good and the bad, you know, like within herself. I don't know, I really like that because oftentimes I feel like, especially in something that's being pushed to the public, even me myself, like even when I'm posting an Instagram picture, I'm gonna post the best. I'm gonna choose what makes me look better. And I think her being able to recognize both good and bad and still push it out to the public is incredible. Some things that I did find relatable about this book, which is like, dang, how am I relating to Miss Emily Ratajkowski? I'm not. I like her stories about her family, about her parents and the relationship she has with them. I found that very relatable because, I don't know, her story about Owen, if you read the book, you know, if you are going to read the book, you can look out for this, but her story about Owen, she talked about how sometimes, I'll talk from my perspective, how I have sometimes been in situations with men where it's like I don't necessarily want to say yes. Like I really would like to say no, but you feel some sort of pressure within you to say yes. And I think that could be applied in many situations. But she does talk about that, and I think I found that relatable. I also related to her because she talked about how she belittles her experiences with some men. And she used the example of how she described a situation with a man as violate when it was actually assault. And I think oftentimes women will sometimes view themselves or situations as less than because they feel like, oh, well, other people have it worse, like this wasn't that bad, you know. But in reality, it was like, it kind of was, like this wasn't a violation, this was actually assault. And I think unfortunately a lot of women can relate to that. She also talks about how she already knows before even speaking to men, that she already knows what they're thinking. And I think that is so true. I think because women have to be so self-aware in spaces that involve men because of safety issues and overall just like feeling judged by men constantly, that you pick up on like what they're thinking before they even speak. I don't know if that says so much about women. Some things I didn't like about this book, there's quite a few, and I think these points are what made me hold back on giving this book a 5 stars, because I think if it wasn't for this book probably would have been a 1. I wrote it down. She says, "Oh, I hate being the beauty standard. I wish people didn't see me as beautiful." Girl, what do you mean? I think oftentimes women feel like, oh, maybe like I don't want to be labeled as beautiful because I don't know, maybe because it fits into the idea of what men want, and they try to push so far away from what men want. But it's at the same time, it's like, girl, appreciate what you got. Like, look at where it got you. I don't know. That really did bother me, because I'm not too sure about her meaning behind not wanting to be beautiful, because I think literally everyone wants to feel beautiful in some way, and so I don't know. In her chapter called Because Hello Halle Berry, she really, it feels like she's complaining about a free vacation that she got from an ad. She complains about a vacation her and her husband got. Complaining? Girl, that is a freaking dream. What are you complaining about? Why was that so bad? I mean, I kind of understand, because she had to post like a picture, you know, I don't know. So in, I don't know. And you know what? Maybe I'm being nitpicky. Maybe I was just too focused on things I liked and things I didn't like, because I knew I was going to film this video. But that stuck out to me. I wrote in here, constantly talking about fame. And now thinking about it, I take that back. This is not a negative. I think she was simply just talking from her perspective. And I maybe was judgmental about that because I couldn't relate. But yeah, I take that back. I don't think her talking about her fame is a negative at all. It's a good view of feminism from an individual perspective. You know, like, you're looking at one person. However, this one person who isn't even relatable to the majority, I don't know, you still feel a sense of like, oh, this is an idea of what women go through on the daily, around, not even just around men, but even like in front of women in general. One thing that I did see often when I was reading this, because when I read a book, I like to take in every source of media about it. I will watch TikToks about the book. I will watch YouTube videos about the book. I will read the reviews while I'm reading the book, just so I really make sure I'm taking in everything. But while I was reviewing this book, like on Goodreads, on YouTube, like, of Emily talking about her release of the book, and even on the Blurred Lines video, I went back to watch it to see what people were saying because of the release of the book, and the fact that she does talk about her situation there with whatever his freaking name is. The comments that I saw on all sorts of media in regards to this book were astonishing. The fact that some people were so comfortable, like, displaying their obvious misogynistic views. Like, they weren't even criticizing the book itself. They were just blatantly saying, like, rude misogynistic comments. I don't know, and I think that is a good representation of what it is like when women even come forward with any sort of story, with any situation. It's like, people will always have something to say. I really did not like the misogyny of the reviews and feedbacks, because it's like, did you actually read the book, or are you just being a that's the end. I don't have much else to say. If you stayed, you stayed. If you didn't, you didn't. It was probably really freaking boring.